So welcome back, Jessica and Jamie. I'm really glad to have you all back for this session. First, I wanted to start by recapping our last session as it was your first session. You had relayed to me last week that you are seeking services here because of cabinet involvement and that your daughter was removed from the home. And your daughter is now residing with your sister Jamie as she's the temporary custodian. Okay, so has anything changed since the last visit?
No, things have stayed the same. Things have pretty much stayed the same. We haven't really made any progress, but nothing's really gotten a lot worse either. So, I would say it's been about average.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you both agree on is that while things may have not gotten better, they haven't gotten any worse.
Yeah.
So that's good. Can you tell me what you've done so that they haven't gotten worse since the last visit?
I just knew that we could work it out at the appointment, so it hasn't gotten worse, but I don't think it's improved.
Okay, so you're saying because you knew we had this appointment, you could kind of hold out and know that we were going to speak about the issues at the appointment?
Yeah, it gave me hope and something to look forward to.
Okay, okay. Jessica, do you have any thoughts on how the problem hadn't gotten any worse?
I haven't been using drugs anymore, and also kind of like what she said, whenever it hasn't really gotten too much worse just because we've got you or somebody to kind of facilitate and make sure that whenever we do get into it, things aren't getting out of hand, I guess you would say.
Okay. Well, first I would really like to commend you on not using any kind of substances this week. I think that's awesome and a great first step for getting your daughter back and kind of fixing things with your sister Jamie. So it's really important that we begin setting goals so that we can work together, all three of us, in accomplishing some action steps so that we can restore your lives to how they were and fix the issues that brought you in. So do you have any kind of ideas for the goals? Have you been thinking?
I don't really. I don't really know where to start. I just want my kid back, and I'm not getting my kid back because she's got my kid, and it's just such a process going back and forth to court, and I just don't even know where to begin.
Okay, so what I'm kind of sensing is you're feeling maybe a little overwhelmed.
Yes, very overwhelmed. I just can't, there's just so much going on, and everybody just expects so much of me, and all I want is my daughter back.
Right. I understand that, you had some issues going on in your life, and then all of a sudden the cabinet comes in, and they do a removal, and they've pretty much, it's flipped your world upside down, and now you don't know which way to turn. Jamie, do you have any thoughts of any goals, or? Okay, well, in order to help
her to start.
Okay.
I just don't want to fight anymore with her.
Okay.
And I just want my niece to be in a
safe place. Okay. Well, in order to help us figure out some goals, I'm going to ask you to do an exercise. It might be a little strange, but I want you to bear with me. So I'm going to take you through a little scenario, and I want you to really think about how you would feel in the instance.
Okay.
So imagine after we end our session here today, you're both going to go home to your separate homes. And Jessica, you're going to do your household chores or whatever responsibilities and things you do at home. Jamie, you're going to leave from here, and I imagine you have childcare responsibilities now that you have Jessica's daughter.
Yeah.
And then on top of your other household responsibilities. Then tonight, you all hopefully are going to lay down and get some rest. Now, I want you to imagine that you're sleeping in peace, and then you wake up the next morning, tomorrow, and the problem no longer exists. What would your life look like if you could wake up tomorrow and the presenting imagining problems would not exist, or maybe no problems would exist, what would the perfect day look like?
That Jessica would have her daughter back in a safe environment, that she'd be sober, and that we would have a better relationship, and I would get to be an aunt instead of a mom figure to my niece.
Okay, so what I'm hearing Jamie say is she really wants your daughters to be back with you, Jessica, because there is some different boundaries between being an aunt and being a mom. And she would like to restore her relationship with her niece and for her niece to be her niece and not have to be the custodian. But also, what I'm hearing her say is that she wants you to be sober and healthy. She wants the niece at home with you in a safe environment, and that she also wants your relationship with her to be better. So now, Jessica, I'm going to give you a chance to answer your thoughts as to what it would be like if you woke up tomorrow and things were perfect.
Well, I think for me, if in the perfect world, I wouldn't be running back and forth to court. I could see my daughter. She would be back living at home with me, where I could see her every night and read stories to her and take her to school and really be a mom instead of just kind of being that shadow who maybe gets to see her once a week if I'm lucky. And I just really want my daughter back in that sense of I guess you would say a family. I'm tired of just being alone. And I don't really have my sister anymore, and she's got my kids, so I feel like she's just kind of stolen my family from me, and I just want to be with my sister and to be with my daughter, and things to just kind of, I guess, go back to how they used to be when things were good.
Right. So again, I'm sensing that you're both overwhelmed and frustrated with the situation. But like Jamie, you want your daughter back into your home. You want it to be safe. You want to restore your relationship with her and get to see her, apart from your weekly visitation. So what are some ideas that you all have of what you feel you would need to do in order to have that perfect life where your daughter is back in the home with you and she's your niece again? And then also getting back to the relationship that you both had as sisters.
Well, I guess for me, the biggest thing is just, trying to stay sober, which, the court system, they don't understand how hard this is. I struggle with it every day, and I know my daughter doesn't need to be around those things, but it's just really hard. And I guess, just mainly just staying sober is what I've got to do, and just having a good home for my daughter, and just keeping a job, and just being a mom.
Right. And I know Jamie had mentioned earlier that she wanted you to be sober as well. So that's one big goal that we have, is to get you sober. And again, I wanted to commend you for acknowledging that that's something that you need to do. That's the first big step, is kind of admitting that you do need to be sober and that you want to be sober. And then, Jamie, do you feel like there's anything else that would need to happen in order for her to be sober or for your all's relationship to be restored?
I think she needs new friends. She won't stop hanging out with the wrong friends who influence her negatively. And so it's hard for me to trust her that she's not on drugs anymore, because she's always hanging out with the people that kind of help feed her addiction.
Okay. So, Jessica, can you tell me a little bit, and Jamie, I'll give you a chance to also answer this question after I speak with Jessica. Jessica, can you tell me what it was like before you were, what was life like before you were into substance use?
Before, I was a better mom, and I didn't, forget to, as bad as it sounds, I didn't forget to, feed my daughter, breakfast, or it wasn't just grabbing her and giving her a Pop-Tart. I actually got up and cooked and things like that. I I was actually there for, and actually had a relationship with my sister, other than, like I said, either me and her arguing on the phone about the kid, my daughter, like what are we gonna do with her, or just running in and out just to get to see my daughter. It was actually, we would spend time together, like we'd go on vacations and watch movies and just be sisters. Instead, now it's kind of like we're at it, like we're not on the same team almost. It's like we're against each other.
Okay. So you're kind of feeling like there's this divide between the two of you, where you don't have a sister bond anymore, and you're more of in a struggle because she's got your daughter and she's kind of in charge of your child. But you weren't able to tell me like some activities that you did with your daughter prior to the substance use. So can you tell me more about the times, not necessarily what you did with your daughter during that time, but can you recall like what was different in your life that may have kept you from using substances at that point? Like who was involved in your life? Was there a certain place that you were versus where you are now? Anything like that?
I mean, I guess it's really just, I have one person in my life, my child's, father, I was around him, and, that's kind of whenever I started getting into the drugs and stuff, and then it's just like, I don't know. I just tried it once, and, I thought I would be different, and I wasn't different. I tried it once, and then I got hooked, and things with me and him, they didn't work out, but I still have my daughter, and just, I don't know.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is, you got into the wrong crowd, and so the people that you were hanging out with had some impact on your choice to abuse some substances.
Yeah, because, before him, like, I never would have, done those things. I come from, a good family. As you can see, Jamie, she's taken a good care of my daughter, and, she's a good, aunt to her, and it's like none of my family would ever have done drugs and done these things, and then I just started hanging out with the wrong crowd because of him, and started to leave behind my old friends, I guess, and kind of made new friends, because that's kind of how I ended up here.
Okay, so I heard you mention your old friends. So were they exceptions when you were with your old group of friends and that type of friend? You didn't feel the need to engage in using substances or other risky behaviors?
Yeah, because I guess it was more so like if I started saying, like if I was like, hey, you guys want to go, go party later. Like they weren't that type. Like yeah, they might drink every now and then, but they're not the type that's gonna go out and stay drunk and high for a week straight. And they're not those people.
Okay. Now, Jamie, can you answer kind of how you feel like what it was like before maybe the cabinet's involvement in your lives or before Jessica's drug use?
Yeah, we just had more of a relationship and we didn't argue so much. And I had a sweet little niece that would come and spend time with me, but I didn't have to take on a big responsibility over her. And it's just been crazy with all the appointments with DCBS and having to make sure visitations are going good with Jessica, and just like, I don't know, I just feel like I became her parent, and before then I wasn't. It was more of like a best friend sister kind of thing.
Okay. All right. So it is good that you all are at least agreeing on kind of what the presenting issues are and kind of what you would like to see, so that we can establish some goals for you together. So from what I've heard through discussing with you today and from our last session, it seems like we really want to focus on limiting the drug use and then eventually sobriety, and then also just mending your relationships as sisters. Because the overall goal is eventually you're going to complete your case plan and you're going to be reunified with your daughter, and that will return you to the role of being an aunt. So once all those things are done and that's able to happen, then we want to make sure that you all are able to have that relationship that you once had of being sisters. Do you all have any thoughts? Are those?
I think that sounds about right. Like, I really just need to stay sober, and I just don't, I want my daughter back, and I'm tired of dealing with the cabinet. They don't understand, and I just want that relationship back with my sister. I miss having a family. I miss not, like, I'm tired of just being alone, and yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna note that one of our goals is gonna be for Jessica to be free of your drug abuse. Earlier, I believe, Jamie, you mentioned she needs to be around different friends.
Yep.
Then you again you mentioned something about friends and how at one time you had a good group of friends where you didn't use drugs, and then you allowed yourself to be around your child's father and then other friends who encouraged the drug use. So what would you think would you think it would be appropriate to avoid some people that might be triggers? Do you think that would be a possibility?
Yeah, I could try that. I know that's what I've got to do. Just, it kind of sucks because, those are my friends.
Right. So I hear you know you need to not be around the friends that encourage drug use. At the same time, it's hard because you're going to miss the connections and the friendships that you do have. So maybe we could even work on making some new friends. Are there places that you go where there's other people or friends that you have that don't use drugs?
Not so much anymore because I don't really go out or do anything. But I used to kind of do stuff before.
Okay. All right. So maybe we can limit the amount of time you're spending with your friends who are encouraging negative behaviors. And maybe we can venture out. Would you say it would be possible to maybe like once a week go somewhere and maybe have a conversation with someone, or do other kind of tasks that might foster a friendship?
Yeah, I used to like to exercise and go to yoga and hike and stuff. So I could try to start doing that. Because they told me that would probably help a little bit with my recovery and addiction to give me something else to do. So I guess I could do that.
And Jamie, do you have any ideas for what she might be able? Do you think some action steps maybe that you all can work together?
I'm not really sure. I just think that I could be more encouraging to her as she goes through the process instead of being so expecting of her. Yeah.
Okay, so I hear you say that you want to be more supportive of your sister in her efforts to stop with the substance use.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe it would be a good idea if instead of hanging out with her friends, maybe to come hang out with you, or maybe you all could you set some time where she could come over and hang out with you so she's not alone, and then in turn it's also kind of supervision with her daughter as well?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea because that way I know she's safe. I know my sister's safe, and I know my niece is safe, and at the same time we get to kind of just hang out and have time together.
We used to like to play tennis, and then that just kind of stopped one day.
Okay, so I'm hearing, again, that you all want to restore that relationship that you have, and that would be our second goal. So you're saying some action steps maybe to help with both goals, or that you start to try to spend more time together. First, I would like to know a little bit about your communication with each other. On a scale, if we use a scale of 1 to 10, where a 1 is like the worst the problem could be. And we're talking about the relationship that you both have and your communication 1 is as bad as it can be, and 10 is all the time having perfect communication, no problem. And I'm going to ask both of you to give me a number on the scale, and we'll let Jessica go first, and then Jamie. What would you think the absolute worst that your relationship has ever been?
Ever been?
Scale of 1 to 10.
I mean, we probably at one point, I know probably, whenever the whole DCBS and whenever I got really strung out and couldn't stop using, I would say it was a 1 for sure.
Okay. Jamie, where would you say that it was at the worst?
I would say probably a 2.
Okay. All right. So for you it was a 1, and for you it's a 2. We can all agree that that is definitely on the lowest end of the scale. So now, where would you rate on the scale at the end of our time together? After all of our sessions are completed, what point on the scale would you consider this to have been successful? Like, what point on the scale would you say would make you satisfied? Like, leaving our sessions at the very end, if you're at what number on the scale would you say means we were successful and I'm satisfied with the relationship and the communication that I have with my sister?
I mean, I'd like to be at least an 8, but I mean, for sure I want to be at a 10, but just even being at an 8 from where we are now would be just awesome.
Right. So, Jamie?
Yeah, mine's the same. I'd say anything above a 6, it'd be more positive than we're at now, but I'd like to see it between an 8 and a 10.
Okay, so obviously a 10 would be ideal because that would be where we would have perfect communication. However, both of you are in agreement, so that's good that an 8 would be successful and that you'd be happy with an 8. So right now, on that same scale, you said the worst, Jessica, for you it's been a 1. What will be a success will be an 8 to a 10. Jamie, you said a 2, and then a success would be an 8 to a 10. Jessica, where do you see your relationship at right at this moment?
I'd say probably about a 4.
Jamie?
I'd say a 5. It's not really like awful, but it's not good either. So I'd say it's right in the middle.
Okay. So I want you to keep these numbers kind of in your mind because at our next session I want to ask you again to see because it's a means for kind of evaluating where we are. So next session I'll start off with, where do you see it? And if it's gone up, then we know that we have done some things that are good and we can focus on those and keep doing them. If it's gone down, then we know that we need to change something. If it stays the same, then we know we can maintain that and then maybe add some things. So I definitely want to keep that scale in mind. So you're saying 4 and 5. So it's not horrible. You feel like you all can tolerate each other, but there's still some issues.
Right.
Resulting mainly around the drug use, things like that. Okay. So what we have is we've made our goals of sobriety for Jessica and then for maintaining your relationship. What do you think are some things you all could both do in order to better your relationship?
I mean, I think we've already kind of addressed it a little bit, spend time together.
Okay.
Instead of the only time that we really see each other is in court or whenever we're, going to see my daughter for that, short amount of time. I think just doing something together.
Okay.
I think the same thing, just spending time together and just not being so stressed out, like not just seeing each other when it's under pressure or because we have to because of visitation. Just like actually taking time out to build a relationship back with each other.
Okay. So kind of to go back to how you all were before involvement, how many times a week would you all say that you communicated with one another, whether that be in person, on the phone, texting, emailing?
I'd say, we at least texted every day, so we
Every
were,
day.
we were really
Yeah.
close.
We were in contact every day
And then
in some way.
we try to hang out as much as we can, even if it was just like me and her, my daughter, going to the park or something. So we were always trying to go out and do stuff.
Right. So how many times a week would you say that you have contact now?
I'd say probably just a couple times a week when she comes to see my niece.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned before, Jamie, you're saying, whereas before it was every day, just personal, kind of, how are you?
Yeah.
Now it's a couple times a week because you have to.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you all said an action step to take is that you can spend more time together. Maybe also you could try to communicate and talk more about how each other's days are, just small steps. I would like to kind of leave you all with a homework assignment to try this week. But I think it's important that we come up with this assignment together as what you all feel you're ready for. So what do you think would be something that you, Jessica, could do this week for both of your goals?
Well, I think I could at least for sure try to do one positive activity, like that gets me out of the house and away from the negative people that I'm around.
Okay. And what about something to help with your communication with Jamie?
Maybe she could join me on that activity, or even if it's just like maybe a phone call. That doesn't even I can ask how my daughter's doing, but that's pretty much the extent of it. Not that I don't care about my daughter, but I think that the phone call needs to be more positive about us instead of just focusing on, just everything that's going on in court, because that's really what kind of is pulling us apart.
Right. Okay. Jamie, what would you feel would be something that you could do this week to help restore the relationship with your sister?
I think that whenever I know that we both are free, and I think I could invite her over so we could spend some time together, or I could make a point to call her, not to bug her about her daughter, but to just talk to her and see how she's doing.
Okay, I think those are really great ideas. I think you all made a lot of progress in today's session, coming up with ideas, and you've been able to agree, and we've kind of narrowed it down to some goals, and even suggested some action steps to take. So this week, I would really like for you to try to do your one positive activity and record in a journal how that positive activity made you feel. Did it take your mind away from the drug use? Do you feel like that could be something that you keep doing to maintain sobriety and to help kind of take your mind off things, as well as the one phone call to your sister to see if that kind of helps with communication. I would also like to see you both of you come up with some communication skills to use with each other in calling, and then journal how you feel, if you thought it was helpful that you had that phone call or that visit or that invite over, and then we'll see how you scale the problem next week.
Okay.
In addition to that, Jessica, if you will, also maybe journal the amount of times that you do use or that you consider using, so you can kind of have a baseline to evaluate that as well throughout therapy. And then, so in conclusion for our session, because we're about out of time, I don't want to cut it short. So I want to recap the whole session and kind of go over what we've done today and make sure that we're all in agreement and on the same page. And then I want to give you a chance to ask any questions or, give you some moments to talk about whatever you feel is important and need to be said today. So we started today going over what had brought you in, which was the CPS involvement. You both agreed that while things had not gotten better since the last session, knowing that you had this appointment, they did not get worse. Both of you said it was because you kind of made you hold out hope that things were going to get better and that we were going to come up with some goals and action steps. So does it help for maybe you all to schedule each week to come back for weekly sessions, and so you can kind of keep that kind of hope to keep going?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we discussed what the perfect life would be like, and Jessica said that would be having her daughter, being sober, getting to be a mom again. Jamie said that would be Jessica having her daughter, and being an aunt again. And then you both agreed that you wanted your relationship as sisters to be restored. So we set some goals that Jessica was gonna try to remain sober, while Jamie was going to encourage her in her efforts to be sober. And then you were both going to work on your communication skills to restore your relationship. So this week, Jessica's going to try one positive activity and also at least call Jamie once to speak on the phone about things other than the CPS incident and business, we'll say. Not about court, anything, but just about talking to each other and kind of catching up. And then Jamie is going to either call Jessica one time this week or maybe perhaps invite her over, depending on kind of her scheduling. And then you all are both going to journal your success and be kind of thinking about where you're going to scale it next week. So in conclusion, do you all have any other questions for me or concerns, thoughts, comments?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah, I believe it's good. I think it's a good goals to work towards.
Okay. And did you all find this session helpful? Do you think something needs to change about our sessions?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of got our goals and stuff set, so I think, now we just need to work on that over the week and then see where we're at next week and go from there.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea to keep coming back every week.
All right. Well, then on that note, I wish you all ladies good evenings, and I will see you back next